Okay, so how many of the clients that sit in your chair need gray coverage? Right. Covering gray is one of the main reasons that our clients sit in our chair. Everybody needs that amazing result so that no one can tell that the grays were ever there. Well, you're going to get that with Kenra Color every single time. I'm super excited you guys have chosen the Kenra portfolio because you will be happy with your results every single time. So earlier we talked about our N-series being calibrated to cover gray and how it's important on mixing those into your ratio or into your formulas so that you get amazing results every time. So what Kenra has done is put together a little chart so that it makes it easy for you to make reference every single time if you're wondering on what percentage of the N-series you need to mix in to your formulation to get your gray coverage but still end up with your end result. So this little chart here is going to be a game changer for you. I like to keep my color manuals in my dispensary so that my stylist can grab them and use them anytime. And this chart happens to be on page 14 if you guys want to follow along. So if you have a client that has 25% gray and they come in and they pick out their shade and you're like, okay, cool. You go to the back and you're like, okay, now how much of the N-series do I need to mix in my formulation? We would go to our chart and it would tell you 25% of your formulation needs to be the N-series with 75% of your desired shade. So 25% with 75%, pretty easy, pretty standard. 25 to 50%, you would do your formulation half and half your N-series and half of your desired shade. And then 50 to 100%, you would do 75% of the N-series mixed with 25% of your desired shade. And I know that you guys are kind of giving me side eye right now thinking, what do you mean I'm supposed to mix 75% N-series when she does not want that tone? We're going for a different end result. And I'm gonna tell you to trust the process because gray hair is the lightest form of all three primary colors. So you put that N-series in there, it's gonna fill in that gray. It's gonna give you a platform so that your end result can come through at the end of your processing time. So make sure that you mix up your formulation exactly to this. Make sure they process for the required amount of time, and then you'll get the exact shade. I mean, you'll be blown away by the end results. So does anybody have any questions on this before we're gonna do a couple of little formulations so that we can see how everybody feels about it? I just wanna make sure everybody has a grasp on it before we move on. So I've got one already written out here. So say we have a client, she is a level 6 and she wants to be a 6RB and she has 25% gray and our underlying pigment is gonna be gold orange, okay? So we're not really lifting or we're really just switching tone here. So it should be pretty easy. So if we're gonna follow our chart, we would do 25% of our formulation in our N-series because she's 25% gray. And then 75% of our formulation will be our desired end result. So let's, do you guys measure in ounces or in grams? All right, I'm gonna use ounces because it's a little easier to follow along. So let's say with our formulation, we would do 1/4 ounce of 6N, and then we would do 3/4 ounce of our 6RB. And then what volume developer do you guys think that we would use? Right, we would use 20 volume developer because that's gonna give us lift and deposit, and we need 20 volume to cover gray in this circumstance. So then we would do 1 ounce of 20 volume developer. Okay, everybody on board? Everybody feel good? Great, let's try another one here. Let's make it a little more difficult. Let's try this out. So let's say we have a client and she is a natural level 5. And she wants to be an 8 beige. And she's 50% gray and the underlying pigment is going to be gold. So, starting out here, what do you, I mean, we're going to definitely be lifting up 3 shades. So, knowing that we're going to be lifting and that underlying pigment is gold, which N series do you think we would use to kind of help control as we went? Right. So we would use like the natural ash series. So an 8 NA would be a great choice. So I would say we would do 1/2 ounce of 8 NA and 1/2 ounce of 8B. And then what volume developer do you think we would use? Well, we definitely lift. So everybody thinks that with gray coverage you have to have 20 volume to cover, but with Kenra you can actually get full coverage using 20, 30, and 40 volume developers in the right circumstances. So we definitely need to lift, so I would say 30 volume developer, and we would mix that, so we would have 1 ounce of 30 volume developer. Okay, everybody got that? Now let's say this is the same client. You've been doing her for years, and Nancy loves her color, but she's noticing that it's taking differently as her gray has gotten more predominant. So what we would need to do is kind of change, let's say she's now 90% gray. So how would we need to change our formulation? How much of this do you think we would need to change up here? What do you, if she's 90% of the way gray, so we would change it up. We would have 3/4 of an ounce of 8 NA with 1/4 of an ounce of 8B. Now that she's mostly gray, we're not lifting as much. We're more thinking about depositing. There's more salt than pepper. So we need to make sure we're putting that foundation down, giving our end result the platform it needs to shine through. So I would personally say that we would use 20 volume developers, so we're getting more deposit than lift with this formulation. So then we'd have 1 ounce of 20 volume. Okay, everybody feel good about that? So this is on, the chart is on page 14 in your color manuals. So anytime you need to go back and reference that, it's there for you. Kenra puts all the tools you need right at your fingertips. So be sure to keep those on hand to use anytime you need. Is there any questions on gray coverage before we move on? Great.